The killing of 2 staff of the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C. comes as the war in Gaza has splintered the American body politic alongside the ongoing rise in political violence. A shooter, identified as Elias Rodriguez, shot the 2 people, Yaron Lischinsky and Milgrim, outside the Capitol Jewish Museum on Wednesday after they left an event hosted by the American Jewish Committee. Rodriguez reportedly chanted, "Free, free Palestine," while being detained by security. This is the latest act of violence in a string of incidents that have affected Jewish, Arab, and Muslim communities in the U.S. A man in Illinois attacked a 6-year-old and his mother, both Palestinian American, and killed a boy in 2023 soon after Hamas's October 7 attack on Israel. And 3 Palestinian students were shot in Vermont in November 2023. Reports of antisemitism, Islamophobia, and anti-Palestinian racism have soared since the war began. But an uptick in violence is not uniquely associated with the war in Gaza. It's a feature of this era of violent populism, said Robert Pape, director of the University of Chicago Project on Security and Threats. Between assassination attempts on Donald Trump, ongoing threats of violence against a wide swath of government officials, including judges, and arson attack against the Pennsylvania governor, Wednesday's shooting was not one that happened in isolation. This is a chronic illness in our country, Pape said. This is not a set of isolated events. People who commit acts of political violence often believe they will be celebrated by some portion of the public that supports the same goals, he said. The alleged killer's supposed manifesto nods at this. They think about how they want to be perceived and what they want the news to be saying about them afterwards, said Liliana Mason, a political science professor at Johns Hopkins University. And it's a very kind of self-oriented set of motivations. We know that this guy screamed "Free Palestine." He probably thought that he was doing something political. But also, there are plenty of people who think we should free Palestine, who are not going to go murder a couple people. A small portion of the pro-Palestinian movement has formally embraced the language of armed resistance, but the vast majority of those protesting against the war have been nonviolent. In the days since the shooting, condemnations have come from all sides of the political spectrum, including from politicians who have opposed U.S. involvement in the war and joined pro-Palestinian protests. It also sparked a debate over the distinction between anti-Semitism and anti-Israel political violence, in part because it remains unclear what the perpetrator knew about his victims. My heart breaks for the loved ones of the victims of last night's attack in D.C., said Rashida Tlaib, a congresswoman who is Palestinian American. Nobody deserves such terrible violence. Everyone in our communities deserves to live in safety and in peace. Trump offered condolences to the loved ones of the couple killed in the attack. These horrible D.C. killings, based obviously on anti-Semitism, must end now, he wrote on Truth Social. Hatred and radicalism have no place in the USA. Jews in the U.S. have said it is another example of the menace they are facing as people protest against the war. Josh Shapiro, the Democratic governor of Pennsylvania, whose residence was the target of an anti-Semitic arson earlier this year, said he was heartbroken and horrified by the attack. May their memories be a blessing and a call to action for each of us, he wrote on social media. A writer in the conservative Jewish publication Commentary wrote that Jewish institutions would quickly work to increase security and that Jews will be arming ourselves. Pape's surveys have tracked a growing acceptance of using violence to achieve political goals across the political spectrum. A poll he conducted in partnership with the Anti-Defamation League in spring 2023, before the Gaza war began, found that Americans who are highly anti-Semitic were 3 times more likely to support violence to achieve political aims than the general population. The Anti-Defamation League is known for tracking anti-Semitism, but its methods have come under scrutiny for conflating anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. But the killings also show that the U.S. is a tinderbox and that political violence is a slippery slope, said Pape. People tend to compartmentalize political violence. If there's an act of violence against Jews, it's only a Jewish issue, the thinking goes, he said. But violence tend to beget more violence and more acceptance of violence. His surveys in 2024 found increasing support for violence against Trump alongside support for violence in favor of Trump, stemming in part from a belief that the electoral and political systems won't address their grievances. The more political violence there is against Trump, the more there will be political violence against Democratic leaders like Josh Shapiro, Pape said, "The more there's political violence against Josh Shapiro, the more there will be anti-Semitic political violence. These are not compartmentalized issues." Meanwhile, it's not only those in the Jewish and Palestinian communities who are being affected, but also those who have taken part in demonstrations associated with the war in Gaza. Police have used force against protesters on campuses and off, seeking to quash the mass movements that have sprung up around the globe. Thousands of students have been arrested, suspended, kicked out of colleges, lost financial aid, had their degrees withheld. Others who were in the U.S. on visas have seen their immigration threatened and face deportation. The killings in Washington will probably lead to further crackdowns by the Trump administration on the pro-Palestinian cause. Pape's most recent survey, earlier this month, showed 39% of Democrats agreed that using force was justified to remove Trump from office, and that only 44% of Republicans opposed Trump using the U.S. military to stop protests. "We can sleepwalk into martial law pretty easily," Pape warned. The conflict in the Middle East has destroyed countless lives and a horrific scene since October 7th. 2023 from Gaza and Israel have haunted millions around the world. Understanding what has happened and what comes next is more important than ever. With correspondents on the ground in the Middle East and reporters providing live updates around the clock, The Guardian is well placed to provide comprehensive, fact-check reporting to help all of us make sense of events that have reshaped global politics. We appreciate that not everyone can afford to pay for news right now. That's why we choose to keep our journalism open for everyone. If this is you, please continue to read for free. But if you can we count on your support at this perilous time? Here are 3 good reasons to make the choice to fund us today. 1. Our quality, investigative journalism is a scrutinizing force. 2. We are independent and have no billionaire owner controlling what we do, so your money directly powers our reporting. 3. It doesn't cost much and takes less time than it took to read this message.